think the reason why God brought us here instead of Korea or Japan is because there's still a remnant of freedom in America.
Right.
Like, for example, I used to be a gun owner, but like when I was younger, but that was out of peer pressure because all my brothers did it, and so I just had to, in order to be accepted as a man, you have to kind of do it.
Right.
But I ended up giving it up. I rebelled against that because I said no, and so I pursued Buddhism. I became a pacifist. I left all my violent martial arts and I just studied meditation, and I became a vegetarian, and I went the totally opposite way. Eventually, and I learned a lot from Buddhism. I'm very open about that in terms of understanding your mind, psychology, etc., how the mind works. But one of the things that allowed me to leave Buddhism was seeing its final social goals. So when you look at even Buddhist countries who are pacifists, etc., it's all almost communist. Every single one. Even the history of Tibet, which people don't know of because the current Dalai Lama is so charismatic. But the history of Tibet is total centralized control. Totally privileged elite superclass of monks, clerics, etc. There's all sorts of sexual scandals in Tibetan history within the monk class. Same that we see in Catholicism as well, the sexual pedophilia and misconduct. That also exists in the history of Tibetan Buddhism. And there's many studies on that in the West. So when I looked at the fundamental societies that Buddhism created, because I invested my whole life purpose in Buddhism, and it was so enriched individually by the practices, okay? And it helps you understand your mind, yes, individually. But then what happened when it expanded to the social level?
Right.
No, it did not create freedom.
Right.
It did not create freedom for people, even though the whole pursuit of Buddhism was for liberation. Even Hinduism too, and yoga, all these things. But what are the societies that it creates? It doesn't create freedom. It creates totalitarianism. It creates monarchies which are not freedom-based. They are centralized monarchies, right? And when you look at the actual history of the world, the real constitutional monarchies or the constitutional democracies that we see in the modern world that create the most freedom, where did that come from? Not Catholicism. Catholicism was direct supporters of fascism. They supported Nazis, Germany. They supported Stalin. They were supporting tyrants, dictators, because they themselves are a hierarchical system. And it's only with Protestant Christianity that you see the advent of a decentralized local governance, because that's the whole nature of Protestant religion. It is a decentralized, localized religion. It does not have a hierarchy. The faith is decentralized. It is about your faith with God.
Right.
And you're not beholden to one Methodist or Baptist, whatever. All those are connected by faith, not by organization. Right? So it's this kind of decentralized religion, this decentralized faith, this decentralized belief that we can connect with the transcendent from a decentralized position is what created the American Constitution.
Right.
The idea that we don't need to go through a government to have our freedoms. That freedom comes directly from God. And so that's the real beginning of freedom in the modern world, which then spreads back to Europe, ironically. It starts in America, then spreads back to Europe, then goes to Australia, etc., all across the world. But how does that start? What theological, what religious realm does that start from? Not Islam, that never creates freedom. Not Buddhism, that never created freedom. Not Catholicism, that never created freedom. It starts from Protestant Christianity. And it's that Protestant Christianity which I hated and rebelled against, because I grew up in a liberal culture which rails against Protestant Christianity. And now I know why, because it's so communist. The liberal culture is a communist culture.
Right.
It believes in centralized power. It believes in centralized government, centralized education, centralized monetary financing, centralized banking, everything centralized. So the liberal cultural spheres in the West are simply communist cultural spheres. That's all they are. They agree with the 8 planks of Marx. So they're Marxists, they're socialists, they're communists, they're feminists, whatever name you want to put them, or whatever panty or accoutrement you want to put on, they're still socialists.
Right.
And now I realize why they hate Protestant Christianity so much, more than Catholicism, more than Islam, more than Buddhism. Because Protestant Christianity is inherently rebellious against centralized power.
Right.
It's inherently rebellious.
Right.
It's hard to control.
Right. Right.
It's inherently to its bone and its spirit. It's rebellious against centralized power. So this is why you see in such liberal cultures like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, rich elite neighborhoods, you see such a hatred of Protestant Christianity and a demonization of Protestant Christianity.
Right. Right.
Even though that's the foundation for freedom, a decentralized freedom.
Right.
Right? So I think the reason why Father brought us back here is so I could find that root again. Like for the first time, I've embraced my freedom as a man to be able to have self-defense, to carry firearms, and to learn that type of martial art. You know, and not just go to the traditional martial arts or to empty hand combat, but actually, you know, embrace my freedom as a man to be able to learn the most dangerous type of martial arts, right? And to be able to have that power of what Father called the peace police and peace militia, which is that owners of Chхон Ilь Guk and free men and women have the power and the right to have dominion over creation, to not live in fear of predators, wild animals, the wilderness, and what gives you that power is learning self-defense. You know, living out here too, we don't have a huge security team. Also, I have to protect my own home. That's the first time in my life I have to do that. I am the security. I am the police here. You know, not the police like that police. You know, but I'm the protector here. I have to. If somebody attacks my house, I'm the one who has to fight. Right. And so, like empowering my wife, empowering my baby girl, empowering the women in my house. You know, to get over that fear of conditioning that they've been told that women cannot handle these things. They would get over that and learn firearms, learn Kali Extrema, like stick and knife fighting, learn martial arts and jiu-jitsu and all these kind of things, which are very dangerous things, but learn them and understand that those are arts which empower you.
Right.
You know? And that can only happen in America, really, now in the world.
Right.
Everything else has become so centralized.
Right.
And that's why the totalitarians are focusing on America to destroy that remnant.
Right.
But that's so important for Chхон Ilь Guk because in Chхон Ilь Guk, the right of self-defense is a fundamental right that God gives us as owners of Chхон Ilь Guk. And in the you know, and in the instance, and it's not only for hunting, it's also in the instance that the government is so corrupt and so evil and becomes so stray, so far from the founding principles of Chхон Ilь Guk, that the people have the power and the means and the firepower to be able to rebel against a government and its monopoly of force. That the people have also the power of force to even violently take back what is theirs, which is their God-given rights and freedom. So that's why it's fundamental to Chхон Ilь Guk and the kingdom of God. And that's why Father brought us back to America, and you know, to embrace that aspect of being a free person, you know, and that responsibility of what Father called in the kingdom of being a peace police and peace militia person. You know, to be your brother's keeper, to truly be your neighbor's protector, to truly be your community's protector. Right? That all citizens have that right and duty. You know, to empower their children to be free. So I really didn't understand the value of the Second Amendment because I had been such a pacifist for so long until I understood the dynamics of freedom and the sociology of freedom, the political system of freedom compared to communism. It's only with that further understanding and education and because now I'm educated that I can see the difference between those things. And I think that it's the gift of being here and being able to exercise those freedoms still in America is probably the only place where you can do that freely. You know, although it's fading, but still it's higher than anywhere else in the world in terms of true freedom.